salutations, friends. Welcome to the Horror Flick Chicks podcast. I'm Angie. I'm joined by my amazing Horror Flick Chicks, Sonia and Sandra. And we're ready to talk about Yellowjackets, season 2, episode 7,
Yeah.
Burial. And this just keeps getting better and better for me. So we started off with showing Shauna post birth, death,
Yeah.
life and death.
Mhm.
Just kind of feeling really like sad for her and seeing the situation that she's going through and her friends trying to be as you know treating her like she's got to kind of get out of this and trying to
Yeah.
support her. We start off super 90s in the music, Something in the Way, Nirvana, which I loved. And that was just like putting me in this space where it's kind of like super emo and like trying to help her guide her way out of this sort of like terrible place that she's in. We move from the past to the future, and we see them at the ranch again, at
Yeah.
Lottie's ranch, trying to get their lives, like trying to figure out their lives and how this is all like working out, how this supernatural thing is sort of
Yeah.
affecting them.
Mhm.
So they realize that Natalie is kind of like into it, and now she's like feeling that this is going to help her in some way. And
I can't tell if she's faking it or not.
I know, I think she's faking it, but I don't know because, yeah,
She's
I'm not.
doing she's doing a good job making us believe like that she's into all of this and that she's trying to heal and she loves the place and but a little part of me kind of feels like she's faking it because she's just trying to because for the longest time she was just trying to find out things and snoop around and so I still feel like she's still in that mindset a little bit. Like a little part of me thinks that. I actually didn't
Yeah,
think about that, but I could see her like,
I could I could see
doing
it too,
something
but
like that.
I have to say, like later on, we sort of see how they're sitting together and sort of finally, kind of like just kind of like group therapy session.
Yeah.
And at that point, Natalie is like, "Are you taking this as a joke? Like this is serious?" And they even offer her a drink, which she refuses. And so I'm not really sure if she's sort of starting to just on I don't think it's on a court of Lottie, to be honest. I think it's just on a court of like, I don't know, maybe she's really trying to figure out like what happened, to
No,
them. And
it's possible. I'm just like I could see it. Like I said, I think she's doing a good job. If
yeah.
she's faking it, she's doing a good job of making people believe that she's really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she is.
But
Well,
I
let's
can't
go
help but
backwards a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah, I can't help but kind of think a
I
little
know I don't blame you, and I can't tell, but
maybe because of who she is. I don't know.
she's doing a really great job of bullshitting. So I'm not sure. Um, Before we get into that, we can talk about like, also in the past we see how Misty kind of overhears the girls talking about her like faking it and thinking
Mhm.
that she might have actually killed Crystal or
Yeah,
Kristen. And you could tell in her mind she's like thinking, what can I do to get these girls to like believe me? So she goes out to them when they're like sort of together, and she's kind of like faking faking it. She's literally like, oh, let's go and look for Crystal, let's go and look for her. Meanwhile, she does really know what happened.
Yeah, I know.
um I don't know what she was thinking, but she was literally like, let me see if I can, do this. And
She wants them to like her so bad. Like
Right.
she doesn't want them to think of her that she's annoying and that she's, weird
Right.
and stuff. So anything that she feels that she could do to try and get them to think that she's helpful and
And that
part of
she's
the group
innocent.
stuff, then
Yeah.
yeah.
So she actually gets the girls to like agree with her that she could still be out there, obviously, because, what's his name? Brother survived all of this.
Yeah.
So, they
Yeah,
get out
Javi.
there, they're like pretending to like search for, I'm not pretending. She's pretending that she's like really like looking for it, looking for her. And at some point she kind of like even like does the fake cry and is like, I
Yeah.
don't know if I can handle this. And one of the friends is like, okay, like, look, we realize this is too hard for you. And the other one's like, this is bullshit. Like, okay, we'll
I
keep looking
know.
for your friend and you
Right.
go
We'll stay
back.
out here and look for your friend so you could go in and rest and
Right.
yeah. Okay.
So at some point, she, while she's like kind of like on her way back, she bumps into Ben, I guess, and
Oh
sees,
wait. She did that whole crying thing on purpose because she went to look for the body.
And
right,
tried to move the body
She
because
went
she did overhear them too. Possibly, if they do find her, that might be a good thing because then they can eat her.
yeah.
right.
Yeah, they
And
just
she's like, "I'm not gonna let them eat you." And she tries to go find her
Yeah,
and
she's
move
like,
her.
I'm not gonna let them eat you, Kristen. She calls her by her real by the name that only now she knows
Yeah,
is her real name.
right.
yeah,
Which is really funny. Anyway, in the interim, she sees Ben. Ben is not in a great place. So Ben, as we saw like in a previous like scene, Ben is seeing his boyfriend Paul, and is Paul gets on like a phone call and he's like imagining things and he's we realize that Paul is like, I guess, an angel or some sort of. He's trying to bring him to the other part of the
right.
world of
Yeah,
of the universe, whatever. And Ben realizes that there's something not right. He like wants to kill himself. So there he is in the woods with Misty, who catches him, and he's like wants to jump, right? So Misty is like trying her best to like not get him to jump.
yeah.
I really just kind of felt that actually she really didn't want him to kill himself. I kind of like I totally believed that she wanted him to survive.
Oh, me too.
It was really kind of sad. And I thought the funniest part was she said something like, if you do jump and you die, we're gonna have to eat you. And she's like, she said something about his sweet like
She was saying
acne.
Yeah.
she was saying a bunch of stuff to him like so he would yeah she said I'm gonna enjoy even your what your meaty butt meat or something,
Yeah.
your fatty
Um,
butt meat, something like that. And he's like, I don't care.
yeah. That was
But yeah,
hilarious.
she was trying to say everything. She was telling them that she'll tell everyone that he's the one that impregnated Shauna and that he was trying to impregnate them all and tell everyone that he's gay and if you do it, like she was going all out and she was really, I like you said, I think those emotions she had was real because remember she's had a big crush on him for a long time. That
Right.
was just doesn't go away. Yeah, he said he's gay, but
Right.
that's not gonna just like so.
Yep. Hmm.
So we see that unfortunately.
I kept
Um,
thinking he was gonna slip. Like he kept getting closer and closer to the edge with the crutches and stuff, and I was
Crutches.
like, that's not really. That's probably a all that, and the edges is covered with snow, so one little move could like
Yeah.
hide.
I didn't think he was gonna slip. I just thought he was gonna actually jump or
No,
throw
I know. I'm
himself
just
off. I
saying, like
really
he
thought he
kept
was gonna
going.
do it.
He did it like 3 or 4 times. I was like, don't, and and yeah. So I thought that was a little
it was
bit
pretty
scary.
it was pretty intense. That was
Yeah.
an intense moment.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, going back to Lottie's camp, just like her way of doing therapy was to like she has like a sign on the wall that it says
Yeah,
like
there was different therapies that they
each
can
of you
choose
have to
from.
pick one, and one of them was self-care, guidance, renewal, forage. So out of these self-care, Shauna decided to take self-care because that sounded nice. Little did she know. And Misty ended up with guidance. Renewal, Ty ended up with renewal. Forage was Van. And so with each of these was actually not exactly what would be
Yeah,
expecting. So
nothing.
for self-care for Shauna, she had to like take care of this baby goat. And she was like, oh, this is bullshit. Like, I'm gonna take care of this baby goat, and then you're like gonna make me kill it or something at the
Yeah,
end. So she's like hesitant, but gets stuck with the goat. She like takes the goat into the woods and ties up the goat to a tree, figures, kind of goes into like, I guess, a meditative mode where she's going between the past and the present. And eventually she gets woken up and she realizes that the goat is gone.
yeah.
Misty wakes her up and she's like realizing that the goat is gone. She's like looking for the goat, whose name is Bruce.
Bruce.
Right,
Very
Bruce.
important. So now she's sort of, then she finds the goat. The goat's fine, but something seems to be wrong with the goat. So eventually
Because he ate a bunch of the rope. He chewed the rope. And he
so
ate a bunch of it. So she got nervous.
yeah, so and at the beginning of this, they all had to like give up their phones, so she couldn't like Google it to see
Yeah.
Right, that's what
was,
she was saying. Yeah.
which was funny because like remember that when we started this, nobody had Google.
Yeah. That's
Nobody
right.
had cell phones, so it's kind of like they were kind of being put into this position that they were in, as young people. So that was really interesting. I thought guidance for Misty was really pretty funny because
That was the best.
That was
she was
so
supposed
funny.
to be put into this like underground like sort of like bath.
It's like
Um,
it was like a is it called like a deprivation chamber?
yes,
Yeah.
It was filled with water. And
yeah.
supposed to sit there in the dark and kind of, I
Which, by
guess,
the way, I actually went into one a couple of like months ago in Brooklyn. There's like this place in Williamsburg that actually has that thing. It's like a floating thing. It's very
mhm.
cool. And you're supposed to be sort of surrounded. I really got nervous because I thought there's no way I'm going to survive this because I'm like a claustrophobe, but it's actually very soothing. So later on, she eventually gets in it. But before that, she's kind of like, doing her own thing as Misty always does. I thought it was hilarious that she goes into some sort of hallucination and she's like in this musical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the musical, her man, what's his name?
Walter.
Yeah,
Walter.
Walter is there, and like he picks up a Garfield phone and she picks up a Lips phone, like a landline. And I thought that was also funny because back in the day, those were the types of phones that were like kind of like the it phones. We didn't have cell phones. We had these
Yeah.
ridiculously shaped either hamburger phone or whatever. I actually had a Lips phone pretty recently. Anyway, so like in this sort of like, world, she's sort of like singing to him, he's singing to
And he
her.
was singing and dancing
Yeah.
He's
I
and
thought it
stuff.
was so funny.
yeah,
And then her bird was singing to her Caligula.
yeah, Caligula.
And then she had a heart to heart with Caligula and he was talking back to her. That was the funniest thing I ever seen. It was so hilarious.
It
That
was
was my favorite part of the episode.
it
I was
was
like, what
my
else going
favorite part.
on?
It was so great. It was so great. I was like, okay, this show is taking like a turn, but I love
But
it.
then,
I don't
but
know,
then
it's
she
so
came out.
ridiculous.
But then when she came out, she not realized, but I guess she
Recognize.
let her true like feelings for Walter out. So she rushed to go and give him a call and
Yeah. And
stuff.
she
So
left him a message and she's like, I'm sorry if you've been leaving me text messages because they
yeah,
took her phone away. It was so cute. So I'm really hoping they're gonna end up together.
that was funny.
It's
Funny.
hilarious.
I think I would want to try one of those things.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would try
So
one.
Yeah.
So renewal for Ty, who kind of also in a couple of scenes like is like going heart to heart with Van and finds out that Van has a few months to live. She has a bad cancer that she's not going to survive from. So, that kind of like makes her feel like pretty awful.
Yeah,
She also learns from Lottie that like, her her other person or this thing that she becomes is always a part of her and doesn't want to be like stifled, basically. Wants her to recognize this part of her. So I think, she kind of had this like look on her face, like, oh, I guess I should be paying a little bit more attention to this. And then Forage is Van, and Van is still trying to like grapple with like, Van is really cool to me. I think like she sort of like stayed in the 90s a lot, a part of
Yeah.
her.
yeah,
She was really ready to get rid of her cell phone. She kind of, so eventually all the ladies end up together. It was actually pretty cute because like then what's her name, Shauna tells the story of her goat. She's like, I lost my goat but then I found it. Which was super cute. Anyway, but so like eventually together they're back in this circle, they're getting drunk, um
yeah,
and they seem to be having like a good time. And then we kind of end up with sort of this like opening to Shauna's like a conversation with her husband. So she gets an emergency phone call and it's her husband.
Yeah.
And her husband is like kind of freaking out. He's like, hey, do you remember that guy that you had got into a car accident with? So like apparently they found him killed in his studio and like you can see the
Well,
TV.
he said they found his body.
His body, yeah.
Yeah. But he had to talk like that because the cops are probably bugging their phone.
Right.
That's why he
yeah.
was, doing that.
Yes, but so that all said though, this is all supposedly had already happened. So now we're like going backwards. Am I right? Because this has already happened. This is
No, it
already
happened, but it did happen. She killed Adam, but they never found the body.
They never found the body.
So he's just so Jeff is calling her to tell her that they found the body.
right.
Right.
Right. So it was like a little bit weird because the way he was saying it, but he said it.
No, but he
Didn't
can't say they found them. They found because
he didn't want to say they found Adam's body. They found where you buried Adam's body. I mean,
yeah,
Right. That's true.
so they have to. So he had to say it
because
like
they're
that.
being
Remember that
watched.
guy you got in that accident with a few months ago? Well, they it's on the news. They found his body at whatever park.
Yeah.
So he had to like tell her like that so she knows.
Right.
But so he doesn't give it anything away because
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
cops obviously or most likely are bugging their phone.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
So
she knows that they found the
hence
body, and now we'll see. I don't know.
hence the burial title of this episode. So
I
kind of
thought,
a
I
few different burials. So like
Yeah.
she had
Yeah.
to bury her baby
Yeah.
at the beginning. That part was really hard for me. That was probably the opening scene. Didn't kind of totally skip that, but that was really, really hard to watch her bury her baby. She just kind of says it's you and me against the world to her dead baby, which was really sad. So burial in so many in so many instances, I guess. I don't know if like we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in the next one if she's um we'll see whether Natalie is faking it or if she's being honest and she's kind
Yeah.
of like starting to feel a little bit like I don't know, relieved or like she's healing from the past. We'll see.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd like to see if they eventually find out what happened to Crystal.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because Misty went to look for her and she wasn't there.
right.
So she either wasn't dead and got up and left, or some animal
Animals, yeah.
got her, but dragged her somewhere. But there's no blood anywhere. At least
I
they
know. I
didn't
would
show
think that there
any,
would be
so
blood or like a little bit left of the body part somehow. But
something.
it probably if an animal ate her, it dragged her somewhere else.
Yeah, drag
That's what I'm
right.
thinking. And
But if she was still alive
there's a
though,
lot. That's crazy.
but if she was still alive, then it probably means that she didn't know what happened to her.
That's possible.
Because I mean, Misty
Possible.
is free. I mean, I don't know. I would think that
Possible.
she would have been arrested or something. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. We'll see.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so there's a lot to be like,
But let's not. So that's the last thing. Kind of, I guess I want to speak about is at the end, towards the end, when Shauna comes back inside and she's all distraught and everything, and she punches Misty, right?
oh,
Misty,
right.
right? And then and Lottie tells her, "I know you have to get out your anger, so just let
Yeah.
it out." But she
Yeah.
puts her hands behind her back to basically let it out. I mean, whatever. And she fucks her up. I was like, she's gonna kill her. She was growing like
Yeah.
at And I was at one point, she was like beating her, and you could see the blood like shooting
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
And I was like, well, she's not dead, obviously, because a lot of these are alive
right.
in the future, right? But I'm like, dude, her face was mangled up, like
Yeah. Like you couldn't tell who she was.
you couldn't tell who she was. I was, and then the girls are just standing. I mean, I think they were like a little scared and whatever, but at a certain point, you would be like, stop it, like
Yeah.
she really like fucked her up like bad.
She did, but that was a really nice thing for her to sacrifice herself to
I
have
guess
food
so. I can.
because she really did need to let it out, otherwise she'd be carrying this thing with her. And I'm sure that wasn't the end of it, but it was a nice thing for Lottie to sort of like sacrifice herself. And yeah, that was rough.
That was
That was
rough.
really rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so anyway, I guess, we have more to come.
To my understanding, there's 2 more episodes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Well,
Okay.
we'll see.
Get
We'll
some
see what's gonna
answers.
come out.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get some answers.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, thank you so much for joining us. Remember to hit subscribe button on YouTube. You can also listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere where you find podcasts. So for this episode, it's Angie, Sonia, Sandra, the Horror Flick Chicks. Thank you so much for joining us. Peace, love, and horror.
Bye.
Bye.
That's the end.